make the sponge for tomorrow's class. Your sponge is up here. There's one sponge per group. So if it's labeled a group number, don't worry about it. You just want to grab a sponge. So it should look alive. It should look bubbly. So when you look at these, they shouldn't have like a bunch of water floating and look really dead.
See if we can get a picture.
We'll get a lovely picture of this sponge.
I like.
Is that good? Yeah. This one looks great. So your method, so if you look at your formula, it's divided into two main portions. There's the sponge and then there's the dough. So you do not scale out now the bread flour, the water, and the instant yeast, and the malt syrup, which we don't have, that's in the top part of the recipe. You don't scale that. That's here already. Okay, so you don't scale that. You assume that you guys did it yesterday, okay? You come in, that's the sponge part. So the ingredients that you need are going to be 16 ounces of bread flour, 8 ounces of water, the temp on the water, somewhere around 75 degrees. Don't go hotter than 80. The deal with your water temp is when you are mixing your dough, you want to keep your dough below 80, or the warmer it gets, the stickier it gets, and then you're tempted to add flour to it because it feels like it's too wet. So keep your dough temps below 80. Some dough temps you keep a lot cooler, but in this class, if we have a cold dough, we're not going to get out on time. So for us, we almost always go a 75, 80 degree water temp. If you're 73, that's cool, you know, but don't get above 80. So the water and then salt, you have a choice of weight or measure. So if you have that choice and you don't have a little digital scale, go ahead and use your teaspoons and tablespoons. It's perfectly all right. Don't try to convert that into something that's just totally unreasonable to weigh. So here's what your method is going to be. You're going to take your sponge. You're going to scrape this out. You're going to put it in your mixer bowl. This is really sticky, so some of it's going to stick. Scale out your water. Put your water in here, your 8 ounces of water. Clean out your sponge container with the water and then dump that in. That will ensure that you get all of your sponge, because in here, here's your yeast, here's your flavor. So you want to get all of that sponge, plus here's moisture. So clean this out with your 8 ounces of water after you dump your sponge out. Throw in the flour, throw in the salt, put it on the machine, and you mix. Okay, so sponge, two-parter. Make your sponge, ferment it, then you mix it with your other ingredients. Questions on how you're going to do that? Okay, mixing time. You want to be at about speed 3 or 4 on these little globes. Mixing time, probably about 8, 9 minutes, possibly. Be aware of the dough climbing up your dough hook. You saw how it did that last time. So every so often you have to stop, pull it off the dough hook, throw the dough back in. Make sure that's mixing, because any of the dough that's just hanging out at the top of your dough hook is not developing gluten. So we're going to mix till we get gluten development. You want to have a bit of a moist dough. You don't want your dough to clean the bowl. So as your dough hook goes around and the dough is hanging onto the hook and going around, it should not clean the bowl where you can see the bowl. It should kind of hang on and pull off. So if your dough is too dry, we're going to want to add some water, but don't make that decision until I see it. Did you guys test that with a knife? Yes, we did. Okay. So you want a dough that's a little stickier than last time, than the white hand bread. A little more moisture. If you have a wetter dough, then you'll get those larger holes that are characteristic of French bread. If your dough's a little dry, it's going to look a bit more like white hand bread when you open it up. Okay, so we want to make sure this is going to be a little bit moist. The formula this semester is just a tad different than last semester, so I need to see how it's looking. And then we're going to do the stretch test, so everybody in your group needs to do the gluten stretch test. And when you determine that your dough is fully developed, scoop it out of your bowl with your hand scraper, spray your bowl, ball up your dough, face down, and then turn it over so that the top is greased. Cover it with plastic. Don't wash your bowl in between. Cover it with plastic. Put your group number or group name or whatever, and the time that you're going into the proof box. Then you're going into the proof box to ferment. And then I want you to start on your timeline at that point. And before you clean up, put away your scale and bowls and all that, use the same container for sponge for tomorrow's class. So, and if you wash this out with water for your recipe, you don't have to wash it again. to save yourself from washing. You've scaled flour in a bowl for your recipe. Keep that same bowl. Don't wash and wash and wash and wash. I want to try to get the recipe efficient. Okay, questions on what we're doing? You're making the dough. You're making the sponge for tomorrow. You're working on your timeline. And then we'll talk. Yes?
Would you take to spray the bowl?
Yeah, you take your dough out. You spray your bowl. You put the dough in face down and turn it over so the whole thing's greased. Okay, are we good? So do we have people here that weren't here last time? Are we missing some people?
Amber's not here.
Amber's not